Last year's in a small town outside Cedar Falls, Iowa. I was 27, newly divorced, and desperate for cheap rent. That's how I ended up in the basement apartment on Willow Street, owned by a quiet, middle-aged man named Harold Finch. He told me the place used to be a storage unit for his late mother's antiques. He smiled when he said it like it was a harmless detail. I didn't think twice. The first week felt normal. The apartment was cold even in summer, but basements usually are. At night, I heard pipes knocking slow and uneven like someone tapping with a ring. I told myself it was the heating system. On the third night, I noticed something strange. My phone alarm went off at 3:17 a.m. I never set alarms. I assumed it was a glitch and turned it off. The next night, same time, 3:17, again and again. I stopped charging my phone at night. It still happened. I started finding things moved. A chair pulled slightly away from the table. The bathroom mirror fogged when I hadn't showered. Once I found muddy footprints near the laundry sink, small and bare, as if a child had walked through wet soil and into my home. When I asked Harold about it, his face tightened. He told me the previous tenant, a woman named Elaine, had a son who liked to sneak into the basement. He said they moved out suddenly. He didn't explain why. The dream started after that. I'd be standing in a narrow hallway lined with shelves full of jars. Inside each jar was something pale floating. I could never see clearly what it was. In the dream, someone stood behind me, breathing, softly counting under their breath, always stopping at 17. One evening I came home early from work and heard someone inside. Slow, dragging footsteps. I called out thinking maybe Harold was checking a leak. No answer. The apartment door was locked. When I opened it, the place was empty, except the bedroom door was closed. I never closed it. When I opened it, there was a handprint on the wall beside my bed, smeared and brownish like dried blood mixed with dirt. That night, at exactly 3:17 a.m., I woke to the sound of breathing. Not mine. It was right next to my ear. I didn't move. I didn't even open my eyes. The breathing stopped. Then I heard a whisper, low and calm. "He's still counting." I slept in my car until morning. The next day I confronted Harold. I told him everything. The alarms, the prints, the breathing. He didn't interrupt. When I finished, he sat down heavily on the basement stairs and stared at the concrete floor. He said he'd hoped it wouldn't happen again. Then he told me what really happened to Elaine. Elaine lived there with her 7-year-old son, Marcus. One night, Marcus went missing. No signs of a break-in. No blood. Just gone. The police searched the house, the yard, the neighborhood. Nothing. Weeks later, Elaine was found dead in the basement. She had hung herself from a ceiling pipe. On the wall beside her, written in something dark, were the numbers 1 through 16. The police said it was grief. Harold said he knew better. After her death, Harold started hearing footsteps at night. At 3:17 a.m., every morning the pipes would knock. 17 times. He rented the basement out again months later. The next tenant lasted 2 weeks. The next 4 days. I was the longest so far. I told him I was leaving. He nodded like he expected it. As I packed, I noticed something I'd never seen before. Behind a tall shelf in the storage area was a small door, almost hidden. I asked Harold what it was. He told me not to open it. That's when I knew I had to. Inside was a narrow crawl space lined with shelves. On the shelves were jars, exactly like my dreams. Inside the jars were small bones, teeth, pieces of clothing, a child's sneaker caked with old mud. On the back wall, scratched deep into the concrete, were numbers, 1 through 16, and below them, faint and newer, was 17. Behind me, I heard breathing. This time I turned around. What stood there was not a child. It was tall and thin, its limbs bent wrong, skin stretched tight and stained with earth. Its face was smooth where eyes should be, except for a wide mouth pulled into a patient smile. It raised one long finger and tapped it gently against the wall. 17 taps. Then it whispered, "He stops counting when someone stays." I don't remember leaving. I only remember waking up on the highway, my car engine running, my hands bleeding from gripping the steering wheel too hard. I never went back for my things. A month later, I saw a news article. Harold Finch had disappeared. His house was sold, renovated. New tenants moved in. Sometimes at 3:17 a.m. My phone still vibrates. No alarm, no notification, just 17 taps. After my divorce, I was 28. Then I rented a small two-story house on the edge of quiet town called Millfield. The place was cheap, too cheap for the size. 2 bedrooms, upstairs a narrow kitchen, and a basement you reach through a door beside the laundry room. The landlord, Mark Henson, mentioned the basement only once while handing me the keys. He said it was unfinished and mostly used for storage. He smiled when he said it like he was trying to sound casual. I remember that smile more clearly than anything else. The first few weeks were normal. Quiet. Too quiet, honestly. The kind of neighborhood where nothing ever happens and people shut their curtains before sunset. The basement door stayed closed. I didn't like how cold the air felt near it even in summer. Still, I told myself I was being dramatic. The sound started in the 3rd week. At first, it was just at night. A soft thud like someone dropping a heavy box. Then a dragging noise. Slow. Deliberate. I assumed it was old pipes or mice. That's what everyone assumes. But the sounds always came from the same spot, directly beneath the laundry room. One night, around 2:30 a.m., I heard something that made me sit straight up in bed. Breathing. Not mine. Not the hum of the house. It was deep, wet breathing like someone struggling to pull air through a narrow space. It went on for almost a minute, then stopped. The silence afterward was worse than the sound itself. The next morning, I opened the basement door for the first time. The smell hit me immediately. Damp earth, rust, and something faintly sweet like rotting fruit. The stairs creaked under my weight as I went down, every step feeling like a mistake I could still turn back from. The basement was unfinished concrete, low ceiling, exposed beams. A single bulb hung in the center, flickering. There were old shelves along the far wall stacked with dusty boxes that clearly weren't mine. I remember thinking that was strange. Mark never mentioned leaving anything behind. Then I saw the chair. It was bolted to the floor near the back wall. A heavy wooden chair, stained dark in places that didn't look like water damage. Thick leather straps hung loosely from the armrests. Someone had tried to cut them once. The ends were frayed and chewed, not cleanly sliced. I stood there for a long time, heart pounding, telling myself it was some kind of twisted joke or leftover junk from a previous tenant. But deep down I already knew it wasn't. That night the sounds came back. Louder this time. Scratching. Not like an animal. Like fingernails dragged slowly across concrete. I grabbed my phone and recorded a voice memo, hands shaking, whispering the time and date. You can hear the scratching in the background if you listen closely. I still have that file. Around 3 a.m., I heard my name. Not shouted, not whispered, just spoken calmly from beneath the floor. Daniel. I didn't sleep after that. The next day I called Mark. I told him about the chair, the noises, the breathing. There was a long pause on the line before he spoke. What he did, his voice was tight. He said the previous owner had been troubled and that I should stay out of the basement. That was it. No explanation. No apology. That night, I made a decision I regret to this day. I went back down there, this time with a flashlight and my phone camera recording. I needed proof. I needed to know I wasn't losing my mind. The basement felt different, warmer. The bulb above flickered, then went out completely. My flashlight beam landed on the chair first. The leather straps were no longer loose. They were pulled tight, stretched, as if someone had been straining against them. Then I heard movement behind the shelves. Slow footsteps, bare feet on concrete. I called out, asking if anyone was there. My voice echoed weakly. The footsteps stopped. The air felt heavy, pressing against my ears. That's when the smell changed. The sweet rot became stronger, mixed with iron. A hand appeared from behind the shelves. Pale. Fingers bent at the wrong angles, nails torn and black. Then a face leaned out. It was a man, or what used to be one. His eyes were cloudy, unfocused like they'd been burned from the inside. His mouth was stretched into a permanent grin, lips split and healed badly. Thick scars wrapped around his neck like someone had tried to hang him and failed. He looked straight at me and said my name again. Not my full name, just Daniel. Like we knew each other. I ran. I don't remember getting up the stairs or slamming the door. I only remember sitting in my car, shaking so badly I couldn't start it. From inside the house, I heard banging. Violent, desperate, something throwing itself against the basement door. The police came later that night. They searched the house, the basement, everything. They found the chair. They found dried blood in the concrete cracks. But they didn't find the man. No shelves moved. No hidden rooms. Nothing living down there. 2 days later, Mark was arrested. He'd been reported missing by a former tenant who recognized his photo in a local news article. Turns out the house wasn't his. He had been squatting there after inheriting it illegally from an uncle who disappeared 10 years earlier. The uncle's body was never found. Before I moved out, one of the officers pulled me aside. He said something I still think about when I can't sleep. They found marks on the basement door. From inside. Fresh ones. And on the wall, carved deep into the concrete, were words that hadn't been there before. He won't let me leave. I left Millfield the same day. I don't go into basements anymore. I don't rent houses with unfinished rooms. And sometimes late at night, I hear breathing in my apartment hallway. Slow, patient, like something waiting for me to open the wrong door. I know what I saw. I know what I heard. And I know that man didn't die in that basement. He's still there. Or somewhere else now, listening.